Okay, so you know that feeling, right, when you're watching, like, a suspense movie,
Huh?
and that music starts to, like, build up,
Oh, yeah.
and you just know something big is about to happen.
Yeah.
You don't know if it's a plot twist or a jump scare.
Right.
That's kind of the vibe I'm getting in the crypto market right now.
I like that analogy.
We're seeing all these signals,
Yeah.
and they suggest that we're on the verge of a dip,
Okay.
but then a pretty big swing upwards.
Yeah.
And the thing is, this isn't just hopium.
No.
Like, we've been looking at some really, really interesting indicators.
Yeah.
And I think, especially for anyone who's followed our deep dives in the past,
Yes.
you'll start to see how the pieces of the puzzle are coming together.
Absolutely. It does feel like we're at a really crucial point.
Yeah.
Um, there's this specific pattern we've observed in the market,
Right.
and it historically comes before these kinds of moves.
Okay.
A little dip down before a big move up.
Interesting.
And when we look at the timeline, we're thinking this upward movement could really start to gain traction like next week
Oh, wow.
and last all the way into 2025 and beyond.
So we're talking next week.
Yeah, next week.
This is going to be a wild ride.
Fasten your seatbelts.
I need to buckle up for sure.
Yeah.
Now, tell me about this signal that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Is this something that's been reliable before?
It has.
Because let's be real, in crypto, the only certainty is uncertainty.
That's the truth.
So how much can we trust this signal?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Crypto's full of surprises.
Right.
But this specific signal,
Yeah.
it has shown us some really strong correlation with, like, the direction the market is going to go.
Okay.
We've seen it happen in previous cycles.
Yeah.
But here's the thing we have to remember.
What's that?
Before this signal actually pops,
Okay.
the market likes to shake things up a bit.
Oh.
So we often see the price of Bitcoin and a lot of altcoins,
Mm-hmm.
they actually drop a little.
Got it.
Almost like the market is taking a deep breath before it goes on a crazy run.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
So like a little dip,
Yeah.
but then the potential for this huge move up,
Exactly.
exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about something that we've talked about before.
Yeah.
The Global Liquidity Index.
Yes.
Where does that fit into all of this?
Well, it's like a key player in this whole market drama that we're watching.
Okay.
Right now, the Global Liquidity Index is actually trending upwards.
Interesting.
And the really fascinating thing is how this index and Bitcoin's price have historically moved together almost like they're dancing.
They're in sync.
They're totally in sync.
And for anyone who's tuning in for the first time,
Yeah.
we've talked about this chart on TradingView before.
Yes.
So if you just search for M2 Global,
That's the ticker symbol.
exactly,
Hmm.
and then you go to the weekly chart
Weekly.
and you apply a 10-week offset,
Weeklies.
you can actually see this relationship play out right before your eyes.
It's amazing.
It's wild.
It's like it gives you a sneak peek into the future.
Right, like where Bitcoin might be headed.
Yeah, a couple of months down the line. It's
Yeah.
super insightful.
So basically this Global Liquidity Index,
Yeah,
it's like a weather forecast for crypto,
I like that.
but delayed by a couple of months.
Yeah, a little bit of a delay.
Now, if I remember correctly, there was a time where this connection between them wasn't as strong.
You're right.
Something about the Bitcoin ETFs.
Oh, yeah, you have a great memory.
Thank you.
I try. We did see a point where the index and Bitcoin's price weren't exactly matching up.
Yeah, what happened there?
Well, it was mainly because of all the hype around those Bitcoin ETFs.
Oh, yeah.
Remember when everyone was talking about them getting approved?
Everyone was so excited.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
All that anticipation and speculation, it kind of created this artificial pump in the price.
Oh, I see.
And it wasn't immediately reflected in the global liquidity.
So the hype kind of distorted things a little bit.
Exactly. But the good news is,
Oh, okay.
once the ETFs actually launched earlier this year,
Yeah.
that correlation came right back.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, it's back on track.
So ETF hype threw a little wrench in the works.
It did for a little while.
But now things are back to normal.
It can sync.
I like it.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about that 10-week lag
Okay.
you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
How does that help us understand what might happen in the coming week?
Okay, so think of it this way.
Right.
The increase in liquidity that we're expecting to see starting next week,
Yeah.
it's actually tied to a low point in liquidity that happened about 10 weeks ago, around January 13th.
Okay.
And if we rewind another 10 weeks before that, September 30th,
Yeah.
we saw a peak in liquidity.
Okay.
Now, interestingly, that peak back then,
Yeah.
it happened when the US dollar was pretty strong.
Right.
Remember all that stuff going on with political expectations?
Yeah. It was a crazy time.
It was a wild time.
Yeah.
So here's where things get really interesting.
Okay, lay it on me.
When the global liquidity index moves from a low point to a high point, Which is exactly what we think is about to happen.
Okay.
There's this pattern we often see in Bitcoin's price.
In the week before.
Yes, the week leading up to that shift.
Okay, you got me on the edge of my seat.
So what happens is
Yeah.
we often see a downward wick.
A wick? What's that?
It's basically a quick and sharp drop in Bitcoin's price.
Uh-oh.
But it's short-lived. It's
Yeah.
like the market takes a quick dip before it jumps up.
So a final shakeout before things really get going.
Exactly. A way to get rid of those weak hands.
Have we seen this happen before with real numbers?
Absolutely we have.
Give me some examples.
So there have been times around these liquidity shifts where Bitcoin's price dropped significantly in that week before the move up.
Wow.
We've seen a drop of almost 10% in one instance.
10%, that's a lot.
It is. And then there was another one around September 9th
Right.
where Bitcoin dropped about 7%.
So these wicks aren't just like tiny blips.
No, they can be pretty noticeable on the chart.
Okay, so a 10% drop, that would definitely make me spell my coffee.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But you mentioned earlier that you're a little concerned because Bitcoin's price has been going up this week.
Yeah, that's what's making me a little cautious.
Why is that, of course?
Well, because it hasn't had that dip yet.
Oh, I see.
So it's possible that a bigger sell-off could still happen.
So the fact that it hasn't dipped yet could mean a bigger dip is coming.
It's definitely a possibility.
That's something to think about.
Yeah, it's something to keep in mind.
So basically, we might be in the calm before the storm.
Or the calm before a huge buying opportunity.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, it depends on your perspective.
I like that.
Yeah.
Now, you also mentioned that this might be a good time to pay attention to altcoins.
Yes, definitely.
Why is that?
Well, if Bitcoin does have a bigger dip,
Yeah.
altcoins usually follow suit.
Right.
And that could create some really good entry points.
Okay, so if Bitcoin goes down, altcoins could be on sale.
Exactly, especially if you're looking to add to your altcoin holdings.
All right, so keep those altcoin charts open
Yes. Definitely be ready.
just in case Bitcoin takes a plunge.
Always be prepared.
Now, you also mentioned the daily chart with the M2 Global Liquidity Index set to 70
Yes, that's right.
to get a more immediate view of the market.
Exactly. It gives you a better sense of those turning points in the short term.
Okay, so a more zoomed-in perspective.
Precisely.
What are you seeing on that daily chart right now?
So right now we're seeing a dip in liquidity,
Okay.
and it's actually bringing it down to levels we saw back in early February.
Early February, okay.
Around February 4th, to be exact.
Got it.
And this dip is happening at the same time that market confidence is going down
Uh-oh.
and trading volume is lower.
It doesn't sound good.
Yeah, it suggests that we could be heading for a flush out.
A flush out.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, it basically means that we could see a more significant drop.
Oh, boy.
And this could happen around March 24th.
Okay, which is next Monday.
Exactly.
But you think it could happen sooner?
I do, based on what I'm seeing with liquidity data.
So maybe even before the end of this week?
Yeah, possibly.
Wow, so flush out before Friday.
Yeah,
So
potentially.
this is getting pretty dramatic.
It's definitely getting interesting.
But you're saying you still can't say for sure how far down the market might go.
Unfortunately, no, that's the tricky part.
So we just have to be prepared for anything.
Exactly. Flexibility is key in this kind of situation.
So what kind of strategy would you recommend for navigating all this potential volatility?
Well, one approach is to keep an eye out for any big news this week.
Okay.
News can really shake things up.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And we could see a market shakeout.
Okay.
So the idea is to look for opportunities to buy
Right.
after a news event happens.
So buy the dip, essentially.
Exactly. Buy the news-driven dip.
Got it.
And try to get in before that upward trend we're expecting next week.
So waiting game, but be ready to act fast.
And-
And you're feeling about 75% confident in this whole scenario.
That's where I'm at right now based on those historical patterns.
75%, that's pretty good.
It is.
But of course, we have to remember that crypto is always full of surprises.
Oh, absolutely. We have to be ready for anything.
Now, what about the people who are already holding crypto?
Yeah.
Should they
Yeah.
be worried?
You know, for those who are already holding on to projects that they believe in,
Yeah.
my advice would be to stay the course.
Okay, so don't panic sell.
Exactly. Trying to time the market perfectly is really hard.
Yeah, you can get burned easily.
Exactly. You could miss out on the upside.
Right, so sometimes the best strategy is to just hold.
Sometimes that's the smartest move.
Okay, so HODL.
HODL.
Now, this expected uptrend you mentioned,
Yeah.
you think it could last for a while?
I do. We're anticipating prices to generally increase,
Yeah.
starting around March 24th
Okay.
and lasting until at least May 21st.
That's a good run.
It
And you said there's a chance it could go even longer.
There is a good chance.
into the summer
Yeah, potentially.
because of that global money supply,
Exactly. That's a key factor.
the M2,
Yes, the M2.
like the fuel.
Yeah, the fuel for the rocket,
Okay, now let's talk about the U.S. dollar index,
the DXY.
the DXY, right?
Yeah.
How does that play into all of this?
So there's this really interesting relationship between the M2 Global Liquidity Index and the DXY.
Okay.
And it's an inverse relationship,
Meaning?
meaning that when the dollar weakens,
Yeah.
global liquidity usually increases.
Okay.
And when the dollar strengthens,
Yeah.
global liquidity tends to decrease.
Got it. So they move in opposite directions.
They do.
Now what's happening with the dollar right now?
So the dollar is getting close to a key support level on the chart,
Okay.
but it looks like it might get rejected there.
Rejected meaning?
Meaning it might not break through that support level.
Okay.
And if that happens,
Yeah.
it could mean that the dollar is about to weaken. Interesting.
And if the dollar weakens,
then?
then we could see Bitcoin and altcoins continue to go up,
For how long?
potentially into the summer,
Oh, wow.
maybe even beyond June.
That would be amazing.
It would be a great summer for crypto.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so a weaker dollar is good for crypto.
Yes, generally speaking.
And there's a bit of a lag.
There is about 70 days.
70 days, okay.
Yeah, so we have to be patient.
But it sounds like we're headed in the right direction.
I think so.
Now, you also mentioned that the M2 global money supply is breaking past previous highs.
It is.
This sounds huge.
It's definitely significant.
What does this mean for crypto?
Well, the M2 global money supply is now higher than it was back in September of last year.
September, okay.
Remember, that was before Bitcoin hit its all-time high, around $69,000.
Oh, yeah.
And before that, huge altcoin rally in mid-December.
Yeah, good times.
Good times.
So you're saying we could see similar or even bigger gains this time around? I think that's definitely a possibility.
This is getting me excited.
Yeah, it's exciting to see all these pieces coming together.
Okay, so we're printing more money globally than we were before the last big crypto surge.
That's right.
What's driving this increase in the M2?
It's a few things, actually.
Like what?
Well, the Federal Reserve in the U.S. is still pumping money into the system.
Even though the dollar's been strong.
Yeah, even with the strong dollar.
Interesting.
But here's the key thing.
What's that?
The dollar is showing signs of weakness right now.
Oh,
And when the dollar weakens,
yeah.
other big economies like China,
Yeah.
they can print more money too.
I see.
And that's what's really driving up the global M2.
So it's not just the U.S. anymore.
No, it's a global phenomenon.
And you even mentioned something about China's unemployment rate.
Yeah, so China's unemployment is higher than expected.
Okay.
And that means their economy might be slowing down.
Uh-oh.
And as the dollar weakens further,
Yeah.
it's very likely that China will print even more money.
To stimulate their economy.
Exactly.
And that will boost the global M2 even more.
It will.
This is really fascinating stuff.
It is.
So we've got the liquidity index going up,
Yep.
the dollar potentially weakening,
Yep.
global money supply increasing.
It's all happening.
It sounds like a recipe for a bull market.
It certainly does.
But you also mentioned some potential smokescreens this week.
I did.
What do you mean by that?
Well, you know those big players in the market.
Yeah, the whales.
The whales, exactly.
Yeah.
They sometimes use news events to their advantage.
Okay.
They can create uncertainty and volatility,
Yeah.
which can cause those big price swings.
Right, and they benefit from that.
They do. They make a lot of money from those swings.
So they're basically playing the market.
They're playing the game.
Now, what kind of news should we be watching out for?
Well, we have the FOMC meeting coming up
Okay.
and Jerome Powell's announcement about interest rates.
Right, everyone's waiting for that.
It's a big one.
So what do we expect?
Well, most people think interest rates will stay at 4.5%.
Okay, so no change.
Probably not. But if Powell hints at any future rate cuts,
Oh, yeah.
that could really boost the market.
Okay, so that's something to watch for.
Definitely.
Now, what about negative news?
Yeah, so negative news could also have an impact,
Like what?
like news about tariffs
Oh, yeah.
or any kind of geopolitical tensions.
Right, that could cause a sell-off.
It could, especially before that rally we're expecting.
So basically, we need to stay informed.
Stay informed and don't overreact.
Don't panic.
Exactly.
All right, now, if we do see that pullback in Bitcoin,
Yeah.
where do you think it might find support?
Okay, so there's this website called CoinGlass.
CoinGlass. Okay.
It gives you data on where all the leverage trading is happening.
Interesting.
And right now, there are a lot of leveraged long positions for Bitcoin
Okay.
between $75,000 and $71,000.
75 to 71.
Yeah, that's a key area to watch.
And why is that?
Well, if Bitcoin drops to those levels,
Yeah.
it could trigger a bunch of liquidations.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah, those over-leveraged traders would get wiped out.
That's not good.
No, it's not. But it would also create a lot of liquidity
Okay.
for those bigger players to come in and buy.
So the smart money,
Exactly.
they would
And
buy the dip.
they would be ready.
So it's like a forced deleveraging event.
It is.
But it could also be a buying opportunity for those who are prepared.
That's right.
And you said that even if Bitcoin dips to those levels, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Not at all.
Why is that?
Well, it would actually be a retest of a previous high
Oh, okay.
from back in March.
Around that $70,000 mark.
Exactly.
So it's like a test of support.
It is. And retesting previous resistance as support is actually a bullish sign.
Okay, so it dipped to 71 or 75,000.
Yeah.
It could actually be a good thing.
It could be a very good thing.
That's a relief.
Yeah, it's all part of the process.
Now, what about altcoins? How should people be thinking about preparing for a dip there?
Okay, so the best strategy is to look at the charts
Okay.
for each altcoin that you're interested in
Yeah.
and identify those recent lows.
The recent dips.
Exactly.
Got it.
Because if Bitcoin drops,
Yeah.
altcoins are probably going to drop too.
Makes sense.
So you want to set buy orders
Okay.
around those recent low levels.
So you're ready to buy the dip.
Exactly. Buy low, sell high.
That's the goal.
That's the game.
You give me an example?
Sure. So let's say you're looking at Aptos or Sui.
Okay.
You can look at their charts
Yeah.
and see where they dipped recently
Okay.
and then set your buy orders around those levels.
So do your research.
Do your research, be prepared.
Got it.
That's how you make money in this market.
Now, you mentioned focusing on large cap altcoins.
Yes, I did.
Why is that?
Well, historically, those large cap altcoins,
Yeah.
they tend to move faster and higher.
After these M2 events?
Exactly.
Why is that?
Well, they have more liquidity.
And they're more established.
So it's easier for big money to move in and out.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's less risky for them.
You also mentioned a website called Defalama.
Oh, yeah. Defalama.com.
What is that?
It's an amazing resource
Really?
for researching crypto projects,
Oh, cool.
especially in the DeFi space.
DeFi, okay.
Yeah, so you can track all sorts of data.
Like what?
Total value locked,
Total value locked.
TVL,
TVL.
and app revenue.
So you can see how much money is locked in a project and
Exactly.
how much money it's making.
Yep.
That's really useful information.
It is.
What kind of projects should people be looking for?
You want to look for projects that are growing?
Even during tough market conditions.
Exactly.
Can you give me some examples?
Sure. So Sonic.
Sonic,
Yeah.
or formerly Filecoin.
Oh, okay. And Aptos?
Those are two projects that have been doing well,
They've shown a lot of strength.
despite the recent market volatility.
So
So it's not just about looking at the price.
No.
No, you have to look beyond the price.
you have to look at the fundamentals.
Exactly.
The TVL, the revenue.
That's where the real insights are.
Okay, so do your research.
Do your research.
Now, you also shared a personal story about getting hacked.
I did.
And I think that's a really important reminder
Yeah,
about security in crypto.
absolutely.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I got hacked a while back.
Oh, no.
It was not a fun experience.
I can imagine.
I lost some money
Yeah.
and even my Twitter account.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a mess.
So what happened?
Well, basically, I wasn't being careful enough.
Okay.
I didn't take security seriously enough.
And that's why you're such a big advocate for hardware wallets,
It is. It's a hard lesson to learn.
but an important one.
Absolutely.
So tell us about hardware wallets.
Okay, so a hardware wallet,
Yeah.
it's basically a physical device
Yeah.
that stores your private keys.
Your private keys.
Yeah, the keys to your crypto kingdom.
Right. So if you lose your private keys, you lose your crypto.
Exactly. They're like the passwords to your bank account.
So a hardware wallet keeps those keys safe,
It does. It keeps them offline.
offline,
Yes.
away from hackers.
So it's like a vault for your crypto.
Exactly.
And what kind of hardware wallets do you recommend?
Well, I've been using a few different ones.
Okay.
I like the Ledger Stacks,
The Stacks.
Yeah.
Okay. A Ledger Flex?
the Flex,
Yeah.
and the Ledger Nano.
The classic Nano.
Yeah. The Nano's been around for a while.
It has. It's a tried and true option.
So these hardware wallets,
Yeah,
they're much more secure than software wallets,
they are.
like MetaMask or Phantom.
Why is that?
Why is that?
Well, software wallets,
Yeah.
they're connected to the internet,
Right.
and that makes them vulnerable to hacking
Yeah.
and scams.
And what about your computer?
Yeah, your computer could get hacked too.
Right.
And if your private keys are stored on your computer,
Yeah.
you could lose everything.
So a hardware wallet is like an extra layer of protection.
It's essential for anyone serious about holding crypto.
Now, I believe we have a special offer for our listeners,
We do.
for Ledger.
We've partnered with Ledger.
Okay, tell us about it.
So if you use the link in the show notes,
Yeah.
you can get $10 worth of Bitcoin.
$10 in Bitcoin.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
it's a nice bonus.
So get yourself a hardware wallet.
Yes, protect your crypto.
All right, so to wrap things up,
Yeah,
we could be in for a wild ride this week.
buckle up,
We might see a dip before Friday,
potentially.
but then things could really start moving up next week.
Around March 24th?
Yeah, that's the key date.
It is.
And this could be a great opportunity to buy some fundamentally strong crypto assets.
Especially those large cap altcoins.
Exactly. And most importantly,
Yes.
secure your crypto.
Get a hardware wallet.
Don't wait.
It's peace of mind.
Absolutely.
You'll sleep better at night.
Okay, so that's our deep dive for today.
I hope you enjoyed it.
If you found this helpful,
Yes.
give us a like.
Yeah.
Maybe leave a comment.
Let us know what you're watching in the market.
And definitely subscribe.
Yes, subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive.
We'll be back soon with more insights and analysis.
We'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.